Hi, everybody. Welcome to this month's Lunch and Learn. Today, we're going to be talking about common system configurations and personalizations. So thank you, guys. I know there was a little bit of a switch up on the dates of this one. It was originally scheduled for last week and had to move last minute. So I apologize for any inconvenience on that. But Jen, why don't we start rolling with this one, and then I will keep an eye out if there are any questions.
Thank you, Christina, for that introduction. Like Christina said, today's webinar, we're going to be focusing on some common settings / configurations that are available out of the box within both SMS and Ravyx, and some common customizations, personalizations that can be done inside of them as well. So what I tried to do is I went through some of the requests that we get sometimes, both on the project team and on our support center side, that it seems that customers are looking for and are asking for that they may not be aware is actually built-in functionality to their system that we can go through and we can configure in their system. And some either personalization requests that are very simple that are handled by our support center, or we get over on the project side that can be done very easily within your system, and just so we can highlight those so that you're aware that they're available inside the system. So I'm going to be starting with the configurations that are available. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through where to find these configurations in Ravyx and how they can apply, specifically mostly for the point of sale. That always seems to be the ones that are more highly requested. So I'll show you how they can change the functionality on the point of sale after we go through them, and then we'll just go through some of those personalizations that we get a lot of requests for. So I have up here, I have our Ravyx open. I'm going to actually go back to the beginning just so we can go to how to get to these. So, and to get into some of these settings, it's always going to be under the system. So if you've been using Ravyx or following along with our webinars, the different modules available, we always have, I always click on here to show you, but we have the care, batch, buy, sell, manage, and system. So any configuration would be in the system. Again, it's not so much that we expect you to be able to make these changes. You certainly can if you would like to. It's just that you realize that these configurations are available, so that way you can call and ask. And this is certainly not all the configurations available. So we're here in the system, and I'm going to go into setup. Open it twice here, and under setup again. I'm just going to kind of leave it because open-ended. So most of the configurations that I'm going to go through are under two specific places. It's under our system INI and our setup INI. I'm going to try to go through all the system ones and the setup, but I may have a little back and forth. So I'm going to start with the system INI settings. So one of the new things that we've been seeing come in quite a bit is a lot of people are going to either receipt optional or e-receipts. And this is actually something that is quite easy to do inside SMS Ravyx, and it's something that is available out of the box for the most part. Receipts on and off is available inside the system. To configure the e-receipts, so emailing the receipts out, is also available inside the system, but it does require a little bit more configuration than what I'm going to be showing you, just so that you're aware. So going in here, you can, under the client, so right here, this is a lot of the default POS behavior that I'm going to be looking at. So right here, it's very simple. You don't want the receipt to print, you can have the receipt off. By default, we do have this on, so if you are in a situation where you want to have the receipt not print automatically all the time, we can easily flip this off and then add a button that you can make a receipt copy. So if the customer does want a receipt, you can do that. We can also do a prompt on the subtotal or a button prompt that if they want to have it print or not print, you can have that come up to print receipt, yes or no. You would want to turn this off and have that prompt come up every time, so that way the cashier always has to be asking that. And I will show you what that looks like. You can have it say receipt, print, yes, no, or email only. So that is a little bit of a customization that we can do to that prompt. By default, it says yes, no, email only, but we can just turn it on and off if that's not something you're interested in with emails. Another request that we get a lot is when the cashier is scanning items, something comes up not found. They wanted to print a receipt, a little slip that has the UPC number on it, so that way you can add it into the system later. Otherwise, the cashier is trying to write everything down. So that's actually right here as well. So that's print item not found. Very simply, it'll just spit out a little receipt that just has the UPC number of what was scanned. It won't have any other information because the system doesn't know any other information to tell you what to print. So that is just, they could just have it, at least have the UPC number and just be able to jot down whatever that item is, like cat food or whatever it may be. And they can easily have that go ahead and print out. And that's an easy system change that, like I said, we can make, you can make if you want to go in here. This is also available if you don't have Thriversa, just so you're aware, this is something that you can do with just, if you're just running still SMS and SMS Pro. Just so you can see, I'm not going to go through all of these. I'm really going through some configurations, but there is a lot more available that if you are looking to do something that we can go ahead, you can go ahead and give us a call and we can go through some of these and see if that's something that is available out of the box, what you're looking for. Just sticking with our system INI, down here, there is some additional ones I just kind of wanted to highlight. There is limits. This is, again, one that we do get frequently where there is the idea that you want to set some limits for your cashiers or your managers. Again, this is really geared towards the point of sale, but supposing you wanted to allow your cashiers to allow them to do voids up to a certain amount during a transaction. We would work with you and see what those limits are that you would want to allow it. So $10, right here I have an example of a max of $10 in values. Now that number doesn't mean much to you, but this would be where we could set that up. So we could set those max on how much they could do for a void for a transaction, how much they can do for a refund if that's something you want to have. And we would set those limits in here. We could also set minimum values if you wanted to have a minimum of sale for them to open up a cash store or something like that. And then there's also some max values for what you can have by operator. So it says limit by clerk. What a lot of people like to use this for, and we get requested a lot, is cash. I don't want to allow your cashiers to have over $1,000 in cash per se in the register at a time, so somebody has to go do a pull. So we could set that up in here. We can set a maximum value by tender of what's allowed in the cash drawer. And you can set it up to have a maximum value so it will give an error and a maximum value so it will shut off. So using that $1,000 example, we could set a maximum value of $900 that it would give an $1,000 here and an error of $900. So that means once they hit $900, it'll start showing up on the screen. They have to get a pull soon. We can absolutely do that. And then the maximum value, once they hit that $1,000, the register will shut down. So they can't take any more transactions until there's a pull. You don't have to do both. Not everybody likes that idea, but you can set these limits in here if that's something that you're interested in. This is available, like I said, right out of the box. There is a couple of different ones that I can't show you in here because they are only available. So in the file format, they're new options. So I'm just going to talk about those a little bit. The first one is there is a new feature. It's called email missing. So if you are starting to do a frequent shopper program and you're looking to email out to your frequent shoppers, or you're looking to go to an e-receipt format where you're emailing the receipts to your frequent shoppers, you're going to want to have your emails be populated in your customer record so you can do that. So there's a new feature that you can, if their customer does not have the email in their record, that you can have it show up on the point of sale. You just click on a button, it'll check the customer record. There's no email in there. It'll show up on the screen as a email missing, so that will prompt the cashier to ask, hey, I see your email's missing. Can I get that information from you? It's just a little box that'll pop up, not pop up in front of them, but it'll just show up, and I'll show you where it shows up on the screen when we switch to the point of sale. It's just a nice feature that's available. The other one is the disable item reg detail. So I'm actually going to go over that more when we get to the point of sale, but there is a new feature when you're running the register that when you tap on the item, it'll pop up a screen that's asking for or showing item registration information. If you've been running with SMS for a while, this is a new feature that was added. Your cashiers are used to be able to hit anywhere on the screen, and this is now popping up in front of you, so they have added the ability to turn that off if it's something you would not like to have, or you can add it back. You can add this functionality on if it's something that you like. So I'll show you that. It's a little hard to explain, so I'll show it to you when we get there. But before we do that, I'm just going to go over a few more features that are available out of the box. I'm going to switch over to Setup INI. And this, like I said, again, commonly we get asked this is that people want to customize their receipts. So this is what's available out of the box without customization. There's actually quite a bit that you can do to the receipt without having to go and ask for a customized receipt, which can sometimes incur a charge. This would not do that. This would be out of the box. So right here, right off the top there is 3 different receipt templates that you can use. Mine is set to the standard receipt format, which means as you scan the items, they show up. Very standard, like the order that you scan is the order they show up on the receipt. There is the ability to do gross sorted by department, so you can have the receipt, instead of going as you scan, it will sort them by department. So it'll have like grocery and all the items scanned in grocery, then deli and all the items scanned in deli. And there's also gross amount minus discount, which will show you the amount that the item is after the discounts without how it standardly is, which is the amount and then the discount show underneath it. So there is some functionality that's available that you can switch your receipt template. Those are all built in. The other things that you can do is right down here, you have some options where, again, you can control those receipts. If you wanted to print the UPC number, you check mark on to print the UPC. If you want to not show the detailed discount, you can skip the detailed discount. If you're running a store that doesn't do a lot of discounts or that does a lot of discounts, either way, sometimes the receipt can get very lengthy and confusing for customers, or they want to see that detail, so that is something you can turn on and off if you want to show it or not show it. Skipping void lines. I'll show you this when we switch to the point of sale. When the cashier voids off an item, it still shows on the receipt by default. It shows as a negative. This does confuse some customers. So if you just want to say if it's voided off, I don't want it to print on the receipt, that's actually available out of the box right here. You can just turn it off. And then the print refund code, I saved this one for last because this one is a little more complicated. If you want to have a barcode print on the bottom of your receipt, so that way when the transaction's over, it'll print a barcode, they come back to return something, they want to get a refund. Courtesy desk or whatever lane that you're allowing to do refunds can take that barcode and scan it, and then they'll be able to go ahead and pick which items they would like to void off. This isn't as simple as just putting the check mark on right here. We do have to set up a little more to that, but it is available, like I said, out of the box, where we would just set up basically telling the system when you scan this type of code, it's a refund and you need to do this. I can't scan a refund, so I did just want to pull this up to show you how it looks when that happens. So when they scan the barcode, it will pop up with a screen like this with the refund barcode, and it'll show all the items. The cashier can then select the items and press go, and it will show up as a refund. And they'll be able to just refund the items right there, and if you can have it prompt for the price, if that way they can change the price. Usually it will pull the price right from the receipt. That's what makes it a lot simpler. So this is available, like I said, out of the box. It's just not as easy as turning on that check mark. There is a little bit more configuration we need to do to make it scan, to give the cashier levels permission to be able to do the refund and to do the price modification. That's done either automatically or they can modify it, but it is available out of the box. That's something that you're interested in. So now I'm going to go ahead and switch to the point of sale screen so I can show you what some of these modifications look like. So here it is right here. So just going through a few of the ones that I had brought up. So putting in my customer right here, if you have a no email address for this customer, it's going to show up right here and say, it's going to show up right by the customer, and it's going to say email, no email, and it will go ahead and populate. Sorry, it'll go ahead and you can have the cashier ask the customer to enter that in and populate that information if it's something that you're interested in acquiring, getting all of those different email addresses into your system so you can use them later on. The other ones are, let me just scan a few items here. I always have a few items. So with the receipt options like I talked about, if you're voiding this off, we'll just void that line. Before I get there, it's going to go ahead and prompt me on the subtotal. So this is what I was talking about with the subtotal prompt with the print receipt, yes or no. You can have this come up and you can have yes or no. It does automatically call subtotal afterwards, so that's all built in. But just so you can see with that voiding, when I cash out the transaction and I have my receipt, first off, I have it by standard. So you can see I kind of have it standardly giving the items as they were scanned, but right here, that void item still shows up on the receipt. This can be confusing, so if I turn that off on my receipt, that would go ahead and go away. If I wanted to resort this, I could have it resorted by department. If I wanted to print the UPC number, I could check that box and the UPC number would go ahead and show up here. So you can see what it looks like without that, and then we could work with you if that's something that you wanted to change, and we would just turn them on for you, and you can print out a receipt or two, see if it's something you like, skipping the void line, printing the UPC number, any of those that I went over. You can look at that, try a few, try it out, see if it's something that you like, and you can go ahead and decide which one you want. As I was scanning this, just so you can also see that item reg detail. So like I said, this is something the cashier can click on here. So it's usually a touch screen, so they might want to scroll up and down, check a price. This is the feature where if you are clicking somewhere right on the dollar amount, you get this item registration. It's just giving you a little bit more information about the items, and this is the new feature that you can disable. So if you run the system for a while, this is a new feature, this is a new enhancement. So some people really like it, and some people the cashiers are so used to be able to hit in anywhere they want on the item. It keeps popping up on them and they want to get rid of this. So this is definitely something we can go ahead and turn off very easily if that's something that is just not working out well for you. So like I said, it's a little hard to explain until I show it to you. So that is 100% a configurable that we can turn on and off for you. The other thing, that's kind of what I want to go through with the common settings configurations that we get a lot of calls about. The other part of this was personalization and enhancements that you may want to do. So I'm going to actually stick right here on the cashier screen because this is a big one that we do get a lot of requests. This is visible. This is the most used thing usually in the system. If there's anything on the screens that you have that you would like to change, that is something that we personalize quite a bit. So any of these buttons can be changed. You don't like the colors, you don't like the size, you don't like something about the buttons. We can delete, we can add, we can resize the buttons, we can recolor the buttons, whatever it is you're looking for. We can also resize any of these screens as well. So like right here, I purposely kept this a little off kilter with my scale. You can see it's cut off a little bit. You're in a store that somehow that got cut off for some reason, we can easily fix that. Generally speaking, you would have somebody from our support center or somebody from our project team get in there. It's best to do it on a register, and we can go ahead and easily move or resize. Some people like the scales to be bigger because they have a lot of weighable items. They want it to be more visible. It gets moved over here quite a bit. Just having it not be overlapped. This little custom cashier screen, this little customer information screen, they may have more information that you have showing on this. It's usually very customized on this, so we can make this larger. These buttons right here, you have them and you don't want them, we can get rid of that and make the scrolling receipt larger. You want to add them on there, we can add those on there. So it's very customized, very personalized, I should say, because it's not a customization. So it's something that, like I said, the best idea for us is to go on a lane and work with somebody right in front of the screen so they can look and see how they visually want it. We can then save it and copy it to the rest of the lanes. If we make changes on the back end, on the back server, just when we put it on the lanes, we have noticed that there are sometimes little differences as you're putting it on a different resolution. So it's usually best for us to do it right on the lane. Some others that we get quite a bit of requests for to change is, I'm just going to go in here, is again staying with our point of sale. I'll move back to the back office after this, and I can show you some of those there, is the item in the customer maintenance screen. So the point of sale really isn't designed to do item maintenance or customer maintenance a lot, but like since I just showed you, you can have it prompt for email if it's missing email. That could be something you want your cashiers to be able to do at the front end. So I'm just going to go ahead so you can pull up the customer. Now I have a customized email, customized customer maintenance screen. So this is right here. This is the customer maintenance screen. This is very slimmed down. You can have as much information or as little information as you would like on the screen. So everything that's available in the customer maintenance screen, you can have pull up here if you want to have address, if you want to have the fax number, if you want to have email address, if you want to have any of that information on the screen, it's all on there pretty much by default, or we can slim it down if you're just looking for essential information. So I slim mine down just so you can kind of see what it will look like, where I'm only looking for the first name and last name, zip code, phone number, email. Very simple, very slimmed down. You can add customers using this screen, and then that way, if you are asking for email addresses, you're starting to accumulate them. It's very easy for the cashier to just enter just the email address and not worry about the rest of the information, so they're not digging through a lot of different columns and fields. Or if you wanted to have all up there, you could also keep it all up there. The same thing applies for, I'm just going to close out, is the item maintenance screen. So I'm just going to bring up an item in here so if they're doing any sort of item maintenance. This is default what I have in here for the item maintenance, so you can see the difference, but we can go through and we can change these fields. Maybe you just want the cashiers to have a few things that they're noticing that they can change at the front end. Maybe you don't want them to do this at all. That's also valid as well. But just so you can see, like, this is something that we do get a lot of common requests to change the fields that are available or delete some of the fields that are available to make it more streamlined. More so with the customer than the item maintenance, but both are available, something that you can personalize for your store. So switching back over to the back office for this, I've gone over this quite a bit, but I'll just go over it very quickly. With personalizing anything in the back, especially with Ravyx, the ability to customize your screens and your reports is very simple. It's very easy to do. So I'm going to switch from our system. Oh, I have Manage Open right here. So let me go ahead. I'm going to close out and just switch over to Manage because that's more the central hub. System is really meant for configuration. So if there's anything that you're looking to customize your views, we'll say, or personalize your views in Ravyx or your reports, it's very simple to do. So if you're looking to, we'll just go into our customers for now. We'll go into our customer master. So if you're looking to do customer maintenance, we'll use that as an example. And I'm just going to pull up our general list because I'm going to use this as both our report and if you're pulling up screens to save your desktop. If you're looking to change anything when you're doing a report or you're doing your maintenance, it's very easy to come up here. You have your drop-down menus, come down to columns, and you can pick and choose what you would like to show up on the screen. So coming down here, I don't need to have a phone and cell phone number. I don't need both of that, or you do. Address, I would like to have the address show up in here. You can add that in here. You can decide what you would like to show. If you're looking to get some marketing information like their risk level, first you have to check it to enable all of these, and then you can then decide which ones I want the birth date. I don't want their active store. I don't need the notification or notification preference, and you can very much set this up as you would like. The other thing you can do is you can always click and drag and have last name first, first name. You just hold down the mouse on the field and drag it over. When it goes green, it means you can drop it. Very much like Excel. So it's very easy to do. Now, if you want to save this personalization, that's what this general settings is for up here. You can click on general settings and you can save this layout so that way you can then go back and reuse it later on. You can make it the preferred default layout. So that means every time you come in here, it's default. This is what will show up. You can also make it public or private. That means that if public means anybody logging into Ravyx on the machine that you're on will be able to see this. If you want it to just be private, you uncheck it. So that means it's tied to your login. And then if you don't want it to be default, you would just want to give it a name. You can say I have our old company name in here. I've saved a few layouts, and you can then save it for that layout to be able to use for the future. If you do change it and you want to use this layout, you can then pick it right here under the drop-down after you've run this, or when you're running the wizard, it's actually available right here under the layout, so you can go ahead and choose it down here, so that way it immediately pulls it up for you. The other thing that you can do, and again, I'm using customers as an example. This is available with item maintenance. This is available with all your reports. So if you're running reports and customizing, personalizing your reports, you can go ahead and save those for future use. So that way you don't have to redo it every single time. The other one that I wanted to show was if you're not that, well, let's say not that familiar with the list layout, if you wanted to change it to a more table format, you can come down and you can open up your table. So I can just open up my customer table, we'll say, and pin it. And then I can open up my shopper level and pin that too. And really kind of get like all of your tables that you want. Now this can get very complicated with items, but you can get all your tables kind of laid out like you want and move this in here. So that way you can go through and you can get the different ones. You can see it's changing over here. It's a little hard to see. This is why I have two screens now, is working with Ravyx. I can get very large with my screens to kind of, there we go, kind of push that over. So if this is your you just like tables and you just want to have a few tables up, whatever your preference is, you can set this up as you would like, and then you can save this as a layout. So when you're got kind of how you want to have set up here, you can click on this little 2-window icon and you can save this desktop. So that way you can come back and reuse this desktop later on. You don't have to, every single time you open up your customer maintenance, you don't have to come in here and open up all the different tables and kind of resize it. You can save the desktop. It's very similar to what we just saw. I named a lot of things after myself, as you can see. So you can go ahead and, oops, forgot the J that time. So I can go ahead and save that, and then the next time I come in here, I can look for my desktop layout and click in on the same button that I did, the little 2 windows, and it will be there as a save layout, and you can click on it, and then you're just going to have to rerun your query, and it will already be open right behind you and resized. So it's a few different ways you can really personalize, and I use the word customize and personalize kind of between each other, but that way you can really make it work like you would like it to work and look like you want to make it look, in both the back end and the front end. Christina, I think that's all I wanted to go over. Did we have any questions come in?
We do. Somebody said that they noticed an Alt tab in the customer maintenance screen on the POS, and they're wondering what that's used for.
So the Alt tab with the customers is used for if you have an alternative code for the customers. Let me pull it back up. So what that's used for is if you have customer cards, for example, you have a physical card that they scan, that's the customer number, but maybe you want to be able to use their phone number. You can go ahead and have that be an alternate code, a different way to pull up your customers. So I'll pull it back up and I'll click on it, go ahead. So like I said, right here, I have my auto linker, is a telephone number that way instead of using the customer card scanning or putting in manually the customer card, I could use their phone number to go ahead and look them up. I used a famous number.
Perfect. That was the only question that came in. If anybody else has any other questions, give you guys a second to throw them in the chat there. All right, I think that's it. So thank you guys all for attending. Our next Lunch and Learn is going to be Thursday, August 28th at 1 p.m. And that one we're going to be going over common system errors. So Jen, if you don't have anything else, then I think we're good to go.
I'm good. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks, guys.